is Damo from the Charter Collection of Fishing Charters and the Charter Vessel Diversity out of Gulf Harbour Marina. It's July the 10th, and the past weekend we've had 3 trips out, and 2 of them we were over at the top of Coromandel. And on Monday, yesterday, we had a kids trip out, which we sort of hung around the Tirri area. It was only a half-day trip, so we didn't want to waste all their time driving all over the ocean, and the experience was all about the kids. Anyway, so we'll talk about that in a second. On Saturday, you would have noticed if you looked out your window at all, it was a beautiful, still, calm day. We had probably 10 knots of southerly, fantastic conditions for the Gulf, other than it being a southerly, and other than it being in the middle of winter, and the fish metabolism has slowed right down, so they're not feeding hard out. But the conditions were great. So off to the top of Coromandel we went, and there was some pretty good fishing over there, about 50 fish for the day, and a variety of species. There's your snapper, John Dory, poor-eye, sharks, some big blue cod, and a variety of different reef fish. So all in all, a bit of a mixed bag there, and about 50 fish all up. On the Sunday we went back. It was a bit of a slower day in the morning, and then they sort of came on late morning, which was a little after the bite time that was predicted. So don't know what's going on there, but the other thing we found there was the fishing was much the same, a little bit slower, but much the same numbers and much the same sort of size fish. The snapper were up to about 4.5 kilos, and I think the biggest fish that came out of those 2 trips was a poor-eye of about 12 pound or something like that. So I've had some of that stuff smoked, incidentally. It's not too bad. I'd never eaten them when I was fishing commercially, but I've sort of changed my taste a wee bit, and now I'm willing to try a few of those things, so it's good. The other thing over there was a few terraki and the sharks. Now, sharks are mostly the school sharks, and there was a spotted doggy there as well, so a little bit of interesting stuff there. I'll flash some video up and some photos up at the end of this, and you'll see what we've been up to. The thing over there is, and I'm going to flash over in just a second to a graphic which shows the top of Coromandel. The thing over there was this weekend we had exceptionally large tides. We had about a 3.5 metre tide. Now that's really ripping through there hard out. So if you're on the anchor, you actually get to fish 2 sort of different situations. There's places in the Colville Channel where the tide will actually sort of bend around the shape of a headland or a reef system and actually change the direction it flows, so you can use that to your advantage a wee bit, so that you're actually fishing a bit of a back eddy. And the other thing is you can actually increase how much current you're fishing by changing your location. So by going out a bit deeper into the middle of the channel, you can pick up a lot more current on those smaller tide days, and by coming in a bit closer to the coast, you can actually fish in less current. So just by using the situation and the tidal flow to your advantage, you can actually get some pretty good fishing out of that area. We didn't get to fish deep there because, like I say, the current was fair chugging through there, and up to 3 knots in some places, so it makes it really hard to even get like a 10 or 12 ounce weight to even stay on the bottom. You sort of have to go to the West Coast style weights, 16 ounce with a dropper rig, and just hang in there, and a lot of people aren't really that prepared to fish like that. And also it's pretty hard on the gear too. It's real hard to go and fish, say, 6 kilo mono when you've got to use that much lead. It's a bit of a no-win situation. So that's the situation there. So far as the kids trip went, like I say, we hung around locally. Been noticing a lot of sign building up around the edge of the Sherrers Rock area and along the back of Tirri through to Shag Rock on that fell that sort of comes off the Gulf and just comes up on the rise there. Just along the edges there, quite a lot of snapper build up along there. They're all very small fish, about that big actually, about the size of the palm of my hand. There's millions of those there. There's a few dory there. And back inside the Tirri Channel in the current, that's probably the pick of the Tirri area at the moment, if you're going to be going there at all or hiding from the weather, or you've only got a small time out, is to get in close, burley up, get the wind and the tide flowing together, spend a bit of time there. Don't go buzzing around all over the place. Try and find somewhere that's nice and quiet to yourself, and get to it. And that tactic will work just about anywhere at the moment. So Keep the traffic down. You don't want to be sitting there where there's just boats buzzing backwards and forwards past you all the time. It's not going to work. Even if it's really still and really bright and stuff like that, you'll still get some fish there. You've just got to sit and be patient and burley up. Sadly though, patience is a virtue. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, I'm going to flash off to this graphic now and tell you a little bit about what's going on over there. I'll sign off here. I'll show you the graphic. I'll flick you through some pics and vid. Remember, for June, July, August, we've got the $99 special running. This is a pretty good rate, you guys. Fishing the northeastern coast, Little Barrier, Middle Gulf, and Coromandel all the way through to Waiheke for $99 for the day. A 10-hour trip, departing Gulf Harbour at 7, normally back about 5. Hit us up, charterconnection.co.nz. This is Damo from Diversity. Catch you later.
Okay, so here's the Colville channel, and it's got quite a few features in it that I'll just quickly go through with you and just discuss. There's obviously these shallow patches here where the blue is, and these are obviously big reef structures, and those are the main sort of structures in the in the Colville channel, and they all play a pretty big part in the way the current moves through here. So let's talk about the current, which is the major feature in here is the current. You'll see here it says that what am I doing? It says that it goes through there at 2 to 3 knots on a spring tide, likewise there. So round these edges through here, there's a lot of current flow. Now, just to make things a little simpler, to help you understand a little bit better, when the tide's coming in, which is in this direction, the structure here actually makes the tide do a couple of things. The first one being Channel Island, which is this major feature out here. Now that big rock in the middle of the current is obviously going to make the water want to go either one of two ways, and it's sort of chosen this path over time by creating this large trench down in here. Now it's 73 odd meters through there at about its deepest point. Then what happens is the water naturally wants to spill into that area. So as the tide comes in, which comes in through here, it wants to naturally spill down to this canyon, into that, well, canyon, it's not really a canyon, but into that little trench. So that's what happens there. So there's a very predominant tide flow down the southern side of Channel Island, and that's basically where it goes. So if you were to set up a drift, say off Channel Island here, you would definitely drift that way. Okay, if you were off the top of the island, you may get a little bit of push that way as well, but the predominant trend, the predominant current runs down into that deeper water there. It makes sense, doesn't it? Gravity and all that. Okay, the other thing is that in big tides like we had this last weekend, which made the fishing pretty good, where we had 3.5 meters of run, when the tide's coming in, it does a bit of a bend around Square Top Island down here, and it bends around here and away it goes, and it really rips through this particular area here. So it gathers a bit of momentum through here, and then as it hits the shallower patch, of course it gets forced up and it increases, and that's why we have these eddy symbols, or these tide flow eddy symbols all through this area. It's probably the most dangerous part of the channel if you're in a small boat. If you're wind against tide and anything over about 20-25 knots, it can get particularly ugly. Now the other thing is, when you have a smaller tide, then there's going to be less activity in close. There'll be less tide flow along here, and you want to find more current by going out into the deeper part of the channel, and you can actually get away with fishing this particular area quite successfully on smaller tides. And also the way that the tide flows down into here changes a little bit too. When the tide's really humming along and you can't get sort of 10 or 12 ounces to hold you out in the middle here, then what we do is we go right in close and we fish this area here, and the tide does a little bend up through there, and it actually comes right around the corner here and actually sort of back eddies into here as well. Now it doesn't get right into the bay there, that's not really how it goes. It actually comes out and goes sort of like that, and behind that reef system there, and you can actually sit a little bit back to front. So if you've got some southwest breeze and incoming tide, this little area here is well worth a look. just because of that particular feature. Now when it's really pushing real hard, like I say, you get in a bit closer and you'll be able to hold the bottom with less weight. When it's running not so hard, then you can actually fish out in the middle, and it's all good as gold through there. So, and you can get to hold the bottom and whatnot. So there's just a little bit more information about one of the top fishing grounds in the Hauraki Gulf. It's a little bit tricky to fish. You've got to know what you're doing in small boats. Don't go there if you're not at all confident, and be very careful about the breeze in there. If you get anything over about 20 knots, it can turn particularly ugly, and it can be not very pleasant at all.